And this sense of groundedness, this sense of connection to your mat or to the earth. And bringing some gentle awareness to your breath. And without changing breath, I'm going to ask you to take a moment to notice it. Breathing in and breathing out, becoming aware of the expansion on the inhale. And perhaps as you exhale, there's a sense of ease or release that comes with the breath. A few moments to breathe into expansion, to release into ease. Knowing that throughout our practice today, the breath is the measure of our effort. So if we feel the breath is out of sync with our movement, if we're holding breath, if our breath is labored, to pause, take a moment to regain some balance, some ease. And then join us when you're feeling better. When you're ready, I'm here dinking around a little bit with our muting. When you're ready, go ahead and draw your knees into your chest. Knees draw into chest. And give them just a nice, easy rock side to side. A little low back massage. Many of us have been stuck at our computers at maybe not our office, and most likely not our office, in chairs that aren't necessarily meant for us to be stuck in those chairs all day. So as we're rocking side to side, just noticing how that feels in your low waistband. We're going to do something called bellows breath. So it's an old school bellows, as if we were going to start a fire, starting up a little digestive fire here. So having hands just to the outside of your shins, go ahead and send your knees away from your chest, just the length of your arms. And then when you're ready, bend your elbows, draw your knees in deeply. Now head is going to stay resting and relaxed. So knees travel away just the length of your arms. And then elbows bend to draw knees into chest. We're going to add the breath. So as knees travel away, arms lengthen, we inhale. And as we exhale, we draw knees in and maybe give a really good squeeze to that abdominal area. We inhale to expand. Elbows, knees, travel away. Exhale, draw knees in. Inhaling to expand. Exhale, drawing in. 3 more with your own breath. So if I go too fast or too slow, make it yours. Breathe as you choose. Really trying to squeeze a little bit of that exhale out. 2 more of those. And one last time, we're going to draw knees in. Now, if it's appropriate for your neck, as your knees come in, try to lift your head and bring the nose to the knees. Now, it's okay to leave head on floor, especially if flexion in the neck isn't recommended. We'll let everything go. So I'm going to let the soles of the feet come to the floor. My knees are bent. My head relaxes. Hands come down by your side. Leaving your left leg on the floor, we're going to extend the right leg. So I'm just going to send it up and grab hold behind it. Now, my knee might be bent, my leg might be straight. That is least important about this move. It's feeling some sensation of stretch. And we're just going to start to circle our ankles. So we're doing a reclining warm-up here to really loosen up the hips. Hips are an area where we hold a lot of our sneaky tension. And in an energetic sense, it's the place where we're most concerned about survival and our tribe. And if there has been a threat to those, these areas can get really interesting. So we're going to open up a lot of hip today. Go ahead and bend the knee. Send that foot to the floor. We're gonna switch sides. So that opposite leg comes in, kicking the foot up towards the ceiling, feeling that sensation of stretch. Remember, sometimes stretch feels more like resistance or tension, and we just start to circle the ankles. Releasing hamstrings kindly here, first thing in the morning. They tend to be quite tight. Couple more circles in each direction. And then we're gonna leave that foot there. The other leg comes to join it. So if we had an imaginary wall, we're letting those legs go up the wall. And we're just gonna push and pull the toes as if we were pushing into a pedal and then pulling toes back to knee. Now, if this is tricky for your back, soft knees, hands can come behind your low pelvis to support and tuck that tailbone. Just a couple more here. And then we'll bend knees, let feet come to the floor. Soles of the feet are on. This time, arms now reach up and overhead. Take a few breaths here into the expansion. Maybe you feel expansion into the underarms or side rib cage, perhaps the chest area. Breathing. Because you know I teach trauma-informed yoga, I'm going to name some sounds you may be hearing on my microphone. We have a woodpecker on our chimney, so you may hear that. It sounds like a jackhammer. We're going to begin to move a little bit here. So our hands are going to come down by our side while our hips lift. So as I exhale, I'm going to press my hands down by my side, lifting hips up towards the ceiling. As I inhale, arms reach back overhead and hips come back down to the floor. So exhale to press, hands lift hips. Inhale, hips come down, arms reach overhead, releasing shoulders, warming up hips and knees. Let's do 4 more of those on your own time. So as hands are coming down, we think about the exhale. And as hands lift up and over, it's an inhale into expansion. 3 more of those. Pressing hands, lifting hips. And arms reach up overhead, hips come down. 2 more. Pressing hips and lifting. We're going to warm up those glutes, that back area, a little more hamstring, stretching through arms. This will be our last time. We'll press, hands lift hips, and then they come on back down. Arms reach overhead for a moment, and I'm going to ask you to make in 90-degree with your elbows. So it looks a bit like we're doing a football goal position, or if we were standing, we call them cactus arms. And just resting here for a moment. This can be quite a big stretch for some of us to open up that heart and chest area, especially if we've been stuck at keyboards and screens. Giving yourself, again, an opportunity to just breathe. When we get stressed, we tend to only breathe in the upper third of our lungs. We tend to breathe rapidly, which signals our body to have more stress. So today, our goal perhaps can be, or our intention can be, to have a nice, smooth, steady breath, sending a message to our brain that we would like to relax, that we would like to have a little less stress, at least for this hour and 15 minutes. If you will now, clasp your hands. So when we're going to clasp hands and knuckles are aimed up towards the ceiling. And you know I'm going to ask you to do this if you've taken with me before. You have a preferred way to clasp, and you just did it. Make it weird. You're going to reverse that whole clasp so your other thumb comes on top. And it's going to feel a little bit weird. From here, we go into what's called protraction, retraction. My arms stay straight. I'm going to press my knuckles up towards the ceiling, so that's going to stretch my shoulder blades. And then I intentionally try to squeeze my shoulder blades towards each other as they come to rest back on the floor. My arms stay straight the whole time, working through shoulder blades. So I'm going to press knuckles to ceiling and then draw shoulder blades to mat. This is a good one to do seated at your desk during the day. It stretches out all kinds of muscles that get really taxed when we're stuck at a computer. If you're stuck at a computer, I'm a big reader. These muscles actually get really taxed when I'm reading. I know that's hard to think about anything getting taxed when I read. We're going to press up one more time and let shoulders melt back down. So take a moment here, stretch arms overhead. You can leave them clasped or you can separate them, stretch legs as long as you can get, and think about taking up some space here. How long can you get from the front to the back of your mat or from the toes to your feet. Breathing into the space that you've created. Full deep breaths, maybe all the way down to that rib cage, that diaphragmatic breathing, also a signal to our central nervous system that we would like to relax. We're going to do a little bit more here to open up the hips. So I'm going to ask you to draw one knee in. Doesn't matter which knee, because we're going to do both sides. And once you have it there, hanging on behind the thigh, to rock it side to side. So just rocking it gently side to side. And then we're going to let it land open. So I'm going to let it open out. I use my elbow as kind of a kickstand here. And I'm just stretching through that inner thigh area. Now, if you want to invigorate that, you can kick the leg straight and bend the knee in. You might already feel enough sensation with that position that we found first. But if you like, you can kick that leg open and closed. A few of those, breathing fully. And then we'll draw it right back through center. We're going to do what's called an old school number 4 stretch. So it looks like a number 4. So we're going to bend your opposite leg, the leg that was just straight. We're going to cross the leg we just opened. So that leg we opened, inner thigh, it crosses over the opposite thigh. If it makes sense, we dive through the center and the outside of that thigh to draw the knee in to stretch the hip. Some of us are going to have plenty of sensation with that opposite leg on the floor. Some of us might not feel as much sensation. There's going to be a few of you who I know in class, you might actually stack your knees one on top of the other and grab the opposite ankle. So that's a deeper stretch, or we're in that old school, it makes a number 4. If you like, that leg we've interlaced our hands behind can stretch up towards the ceiling. You'll see the number 4. Just breathing here to open that outside hip structure. One more breath. And then we're going to bring it all back down. Just bringing soles of the feet on. Give your knees a little rock side to side. We're going to switch sides now. So drawing one knee into the chest, the other leg rests long along your mat, and we're going to rock it inside and out. Hands behind that thigh, just to move that leg as much as you can with the arm muscle instead of leg muscle. It's kind of a floppy leg. And we'll let it land to the outside, and maybe your elbow's that kickstand. If it makes sense, we might kick that foot up and down. We might simply just leave it with heel towards the bun. Inhaling and exhaling. Don't forget to breathe. So as soon as we start some of these deeper stretches, we often hold our breath. When you're ready, draw that knee back towards center. Opposite leg, bend, sole of the foot comes on. We cross the ankle over the thigh. We might dive in and behind. We might draw that knee in. We might even kick that leg up towards the ceiling. Remember, you always have lots of choices here in order to suit where you are at today. So where does it feel best for you today? We'll go ahead and we'll bend that knee. Draw both knees into your chest. We give it a nice little rock side to side. We're gonna get ready to do, and this is my shout out to Courtney, my Pilates person. We're gonna do a little rolling like a ball. So we're gonna come up and down. We're gonna just start to roll up and then roll back. I should say also Teresa, who teaches Pilates as well. Give yourself this nice spinal massage. Forward and back. And then at some point, we're gonna land in a seated position. And it doesn't have to be fancy here. We're gonna come to stand at the front of your mat. So that might mean for you adjusting your screen too. So if you need to adjust screen, go ahead, take a few moments to move it around. And we'll come to the front of our mat. Once you're near the front of your mat, go ahead and take a peek at your big toes and give yourself 3 fingers between those big toes. Now, a few of you may do a different sort of mountain pose where your toes are touching and you have a little bit of space between your feet. That is perfectly acceptable too. So we make these adjustments for our practice where we're at. Hands are down by your side. We're going to do some exaggerated shoulder rolls, just a few in one direction. And then opposite direction. And if you will, go really big shrug up towards your ears. We're contracting those muscles, and then on your next exhale, very gentle release of the shoulders down. Palms can face thighs, they can face forward. Take a moment to sense the balance all the way through the feet. So maybe if it's helpful, you wiggle inside and outside of those toes and forward and back, landing on the entire sole of the foot. Soft knees, released buns and back. So notice if you're squeezing buns, those shoulders melting away. Knowing that as we go through our flow today, you can always return here. So today is a little bit more vigorous than last week. We're going to flow a little bit more. And if you need a break, if you're feeling out of breath, you can always come back to your mountain pose. One more deep inhale and exhale here. We're going to move through our half lift sun salute. So we'll bring hands to hearts, warming up that back. We take a deep inhale, maybe even gazing at the ceiling as arms reach to ceiling. They reach wide, rounded back for most of us, swan dive for a few of us. We'll place those palms we'll place our palms on our shins or thighs. We'll inhale to halfway lift. We'll exhale, release, look right through those legs, arms reach wide as you inhale, rise back up, fingertips reach up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come back to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft bent knees, arms reach wide, rounded back or swan dive. Palms press into shins or thighs. We skip those knees. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, try and release down to look through those thighs so your neck releases too. Arms reach wide as we inhale, rise back up. Exhale, hands come back to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft bent knees, arms reach wide as we dive forward. Palms press into thighs or shins. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down, arms reach wide. Inhale, rise back up. We're going to do one more of these. So exhale, hands come to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft bent knees. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down, arms reach wide. Inhale, rise back up. Exhale, hands come to heart. Now we're going to begin to move through a flow. This first flow, lots of options of where to take your practice. Do what makes sense for you. I'm going to switch so you can see me from the side. When you're ready, we inhale, rise up. Exhale, soft bent knees, arms reach wide. This time we're going to reach for the floor. We'll step, hop, walk, or jump back into plank. Some versions of plank. Palms on, legs straight. We could have knees down. You can always have fists on. We can lower down to our elbows if you choose. So if it's tough to be on wrists, you can always be on elbows. When you're ready, we're going to lower to the earth. So you're going to see me drop knees. I'm going to lower all the way down. This first one, keep it small, low cobra, just lifting heart off of the mat. As we exhale, pressing back into down dog. 5 breaths here and lots of options. So maybe we're on knees, pressing back into puppy. Maybe we're on elbows with tailbone reaching to the ceiling. Maybe we're in child's pose for these 5 breaths. Picking that place that makes sense for you today. Deep inhale and exhale. 2 more breaths. We're going to take our left foot. Our left foot can lift up towards the ceiling if you choose. It dives on through. Remember, some of us are going to have our knee down and we swing that foot around. So left foot comes between the hands, back knee is on your mat or your floor. Careful here, rise up. It is a balance. That front foot rules the balance, so you can sneak the foot to the outside of that mat if it's helpful. So leaving your left hand on your knee, right arm is going to reach up, and we're going to move through this a little bit here. So as I exhale, I'm going to reach my right arm behind me. So I'm opening up my heart. I let it swing down towards my hip. It comes back forward. My gaze comes forward. I lift it back up towards the ceiling, swing it behind me on the exhale, and let it circle down around. Opening shoulder, but also opening thigh. We reach it up, twisting around to reach, slide it back around. One last time. Reaching up, twisting, and sliding back around and up. Now this one gets tricky. Take that hand in the air and bring it to your knee. Right hand to that opposite thigh. Other hand now is going to sweep behind you. So I'm going to end up turning away from you as we rotate to look behind us. So I'm twisting to the left. My right hand is on my thigh. And I'm just pausing here to breathe. Let that hand swing down. We're going to place it between our foots, between our hands. We frame that foot. Step back into your version of down dog. So I might be on down dog. I might be on knees and palms. I might be on elbows. I might be in child's pose. 5 breaths here. This longer hold in down dog, bringing balance to all the 7 main chakras along your spine. 2 more breaths. When you're ready, softly, gently, bending knees, walking towards the front of your mat. Exhaling this time to slowly roll up. And we bring ourselves to stand. Finding mountain pose again. 3 fingers between the toes. Shoulders draw up, back and down. Palms might face forward. They might face thighs. What feels best to you. And just a moment to notice this pose, but also to notice right and left. That right hip, left hip, shoulder area, bringing awareness to both sides and noticing similarities or differences. We'll let our hands come to heart. We're going to transition again to the floor. Inhale, fingertips rise up. Exhale, soft bent knees as you dive forward. We plant hands, we step, hop, walk, or jump back into plank. We lower to the floor in a version that makes sense for you. Full chaturanga, knees down, we lower all the way. And this time, if you like, you can come into an up dog, shoulders melting away. We tuck toes. We press back for 5 breaths in your version of down dog or child's pose, fully breathing here. Knees soft, heart traveling closer to the thighs is more important than getting straight legs. We're really trying to open up the length of the torso. Let's do 1 more breath. If it's your choice this time, right foot might lift up towards the ceiling. It might simply just slide right on through. That back knee lands. And then we'll rise up to that knee to find our balance. Foot can walk a little closer to the outside of that mat. When you're ready, left arm reaches up towards the ceiling. We'll reach it back behind us to open up, maybe even gaze behind. It swings down by the hip. Comes back forward, up towards the ceiling. We open up to reach behind us. Circle it down. Back up towards the ceiling. 2 more of these. So think about exhaling as you reach behind you. As we inhale, it slides right up the front and to the ceiling. One more. Exhale, reach behind you. Inhale, it reaches up. Take that left hand and cross the body to rest it on that opposite thigh. That right arm reaches up and twist back. We're gonna hold that twist. Maybe we're gazing and looking, wringing out that torso. Maybe letting go what no longer serves us. We'll let it swing down by the hips. Take your arms, both arms will reach up towards the ceiling. We're gonna go into cactus arms. So I'm just gonna turn towards you so you can see what that looks like. I always think of these as surprised arms. Surprise! Elbows in 90 degrees, squeezing those shoulder blades closer to each other. This time, instead of going back into down dog, we're gonna plant the hands to frame the foot. We'll press back into child's pose. So perhaps hips can get back towards heels. It might be a better idea if knees and back bother you to come to elbows, knees, and round the back. 5 breaths in our child's pose. This restorative position, bringing a little bit more energy into that kidney area, kidney meridian and kidney adrenal area. That for many of us is probably currently really overworked. An opportunity to bring some balance to that energy. When you're ready, rising up to tabletop, transitioning here. So we're just gonna do a quick down dog to walk our feet towards the front of your mat. This time, if you'd like to, you can reach arms wide. Inhale to rise up, a little more challenging for your back. Fingertips reach up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come back to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft bent knees. Reaching down, we're gonna step, hop, walk, or jump back into our plank. One flow here, we lower down to the earth on the exhale. Inhale, low cobra or up dog. Exhale, press back, down dog. Not 5 breaths here this time. We're gonna lift left leg towards the ceiling. It slides on through. And this time that back knee stays hovering. Back knee is hovering, we plant that foot at an angle if that makes sense. And we're gonna rise up into our warrior one. Fingertips can be reaching towards the ceiling. They can be in cactus. We're bent in that front knee, feeling some stretch in that back leg. Both hips pointing forward. Warrior one. These are gonna be a little longer holds here. So rather than flowing, we hold these, we breathe through these in order to find some energetic components. If it's too much to hold, remember, you can always go back to your mountain pose. One more breath here. We're gonna transition into our warrior two. So left hand comes forward, right hand goes back. Gaze is still over the fingertips, but now my hips open up. So rather than hips facing forward, they open up towards the edge of your mat. 3 more breaths here. Maybe think about drawing. It's not really gonna happen, but if we could draw our heels closer to each other, how does that solidify your legs? How does that change your torso? Could you draw your belly in to relax a little of that low back? When you're ready, hands just come right down to the crease of your thighs. Front leg straightens. We're going into our triangle pose. Lots of places to go. Most of us are going to start with our hand just coming gently inside the thigh. We start to go towards that ankle. Some of us are going to pause at the knee thigh. Some of you might go lower. Backhand has a lot of options. Backhand can slide behind your back. It can reach to the back of the room. It can reach towards the ceiling. It can reach all the way over towards your screen. 3 more breaths here. When you're ready, we rise back up and into front knee, warrior two. We're gonna cartwheel down. So we'll cartwheel down, framing that front foot. We step back to go through our flow. So when you're ready, lowering down to the earth. Inhale, low cobra or up dog. Exhale, press back, down dog. This time, the right leg might reach up towards the ceiling. It dives right on through. Back foot plants at an angle. We rise up into our warrior one. Hips aiming towards the front of your mat. You might be in cactus arms if that feels better for shoulders. Tiny tailbone tuck here. Breathing fully. One more breath. And then we shift to our warrior two. Hips open up. Right hand comes forward. Left hand goes back. 4 breaths here. Think about drawing your heels closer. Fire up those legs. See if you can tuck your tailbone. Draw that belly in. Shoulders melting down. Firing up those shoulders, the tops of the shoulders, those deltoids. When you're ready, take that back hand. Actually, both hands come to rest right at the crease of your thighs. Straightening your front leg. Taking front hand to come inside the thigh. We start to lower. The idea here is that we keep our shoulders stacked, our heart open. If we rotate that top shoulder towards the ground, we're kind of out of this position. Lots of choices. You can go lower, higher. Back arm can slide behind to the back, up towards the ceiling, or towards your screen. Fully breathing here. So these longer holds, more vigorous, makes breath a little bit more challenging. So you can always back off a notch, take the arm to a different position to make it a little less intense. When you're ready, bend into front knee, back to warrior two. Rather than going through our flow, we're gonna bring our hands to the crease of our hips and we turn our toes both in the same direction. Toes in the same direction. Now we can go wider here. You can draw in closer. We're getting ready to stretch the back of the thighs. This first one, we're just gonna simply roll down. Take it easy. I know a few of you are gonna soften knees and rest elbows right on top of the thighs. Others might let the hands drift down towards the ankles and try to draw themselves through. Some of us are gonna reach the mat. And if we reach the mat and you would like to get a little bit deeper, slide your hands to the back of your mat. Shifting weight to the front of the feet. So the heels don't have to hover, but we'd like that weight in the balls of the feet versus the heels. So we're not sitting back in this pose, we're making this pose very active. Nod your head yes. Shake your head no. Can you let that head go? This upside down, a great release for shoulder and mid-back tension. If you are an arm balance or a headstand person, these are the places to do that. So if you happen to be in a headstand or an arm balance, you're welcome to move through those. 2 more breaths here. We're going to use an exhale, a little bit different here in yoga, but we're going to use an exhale to protect that back. So we slowly let ourselves roll up. And if you will, slide your hands behind your back. So I might be able to grab hold of fingers, wrists, or elbows. And no matter where I've gotten, the idea here is that I'm going to try to squeeze my shoulder blades closer together. So opening through the heart space, that front space of the heart. And checking in with hip bones. Did we send those hip bones forward and could we tuck our tail just a little bit to protect that back? We're going to do 1 more of these. We might invigorate it, so I'm going to turn sideways just so you can see what that might look like. You might do exactly what we just did, where hands come to the crease and around down. If you would like to invigorate, we're going to keep a parallel torso to the floor and arms reach out into a T. Now the most invigorated position is arms overhead. And you're welcome to do that, warrior one arms. I'm gonna stay here in T with my weight shifting towards the balls of my feet. You might also be fully rounded forward, relaxing the head and neck in this upside down position. One more breath here. Everybody release to the floor. This time, let's see if we can use an inhale, that yogic breath. We inhale to slowly rise up. We do that counterbalance where we grab hold of fists, wrists, or elbows. Open that space of the front of the heart. Maybe give your head a little bit of a bobble here. We're not going to get too fancy here. We're going to come to stand at the front of our mat. So bringing yourself back towards your screen. We're getting ready to balance. So if a wall is handy, you may want to go over to that. You may want to step off a squishy mat. You may want to come onto a surface that's going to offer you a little bit more ease in the feet. So I'm going to turn sideways so you can see where we're headed. So I'm going to give myself 3 fingers between those big toes, a little more foundation for our balance. Hands can come to heart. You might balance better with hands out near a T. I'm going to leave mine at heart. I'm going to shift weight to my left foot and bring my right foot forward. So where we're headed for balance is to be out of balance. I don't want you to be in perfect balance. That's no fun. So I might already be balance challenged with my toes on. I might be able to pull my foot off. I might be able to bring my knee up into 90 degrees. So where do you get a challenge? It's not about getting someplace, it's more about the journey. If you are in really good balance here and you need a bigger challenge, we shift that foot backwards and we begin to let it hover and lengthen. So we might come to a version of airplane or warrior 3. Now, not necessary if you're already feeling really challenged with toes on or foot off. When you're ready, we come back to bring that foot on the floor. Give it all a nice little wiggle, a little shake. 3 fingers between those big toes. Find the weight in both feet. Hands centered where it makes sense for you. We step now that left foot forward. Maybe toes come off. Maybe knee can bend. Perhaps we send it back into our warrior 3 version or airplane. Hands come back at heart if they're flying. We bring that knee back forward and we lower it down. One more time on each side, now that we know where we're headed. So shifting through those feet, give everything a nice little wiggle. It'll be your right foot or right leg that steps forward. Foot on, foot off, knee bends. Maybe, pardon me, you shift back into a version of warrior 3. We'll bend that knee, try to slowly bring it forward, maintaining that balance, and then foot comes down, hopefully without a stomp. We're gonna shift sides, give it a nice little wiggle. Weight equal through both feet. When you're ready, shifting weight to your right foot and the left foot comes forward. Maybe flexing foot. Maybe drawing knee into 90. Perhaps shifting back into your warrior 3. We'll bring that knee back forward. And then we'll lower the foot down. Hands come down by your side. Take a moment in your mountain pose. Soles of the feet on. Knees soft. Low back released. Shoulders draw up, back and down. Chins parallel and eyes open or closed. We're going to do 4 breaths here. just to observe sensation. Maybe there's sensation that's calling to you. Maybe we check in at some well-known suspects here in the body of either chronic disease or pain, just to see how they're feeling. If your eyes are closed, inhaling to blink your eyes open. We are not going to get too fancy about getting down to the floor, but we are going to come to a seated position. If you have pillows, blocks, and you need those, it's a good time to place them right underneath your buns. Adjusting those screens as you need. We're going to do a little further hip opener, and there are lots of places to go with this one. So if this is unfamiliar to you, just spend some time watching and then we'll move through it. So I'm going to stretch my legs out until letter V, a comfortable letter V. So I'm not going quite as far as I probably think that I could. For some of us, that's not comfortable at all, and it makes more sense to have soles of the feet on and knees bent. So this will be your place. So either legs straight out. For some of us, simply folding forward is plenty of hip opener. So we might walk ourselves out. We might round our backs with bent knees. There may be a few of us who want to go into a deeper opening. So I'm going to instruct you through that. There's a bit of a switch up here to stretch the side body. So I'm going to ask you to take your right hand, the hand that's closest to the weeds in the room, and it dives under your opposite thigh. So it goes right under your opposite thigh. And I'm going to take my right shoulder and I go towards my right knee. Now you don't have to be here. You can be in a fold forward, experiencing this through the inner thighs. Now I'm getting some information. Does my hip pull off? Can I keep it on? How's that side feel? Do I want to add more stretch by lifting that left arm either up towards the ceiling, overhead, or maybe all the way to my toes? Now remember here, this has a lot to do with how your bones are put together, not as much to do with the flexibility. So some of us just don't have the hip structure, how our bones come together to allow us to do this, and that's okay. Wherever you're at, we're all gonna rise back up. We give our legs a little wiggle, our shoulders a little shake. For those of you folding forward, we fold forward again. For those of you joining me on that side opener, it's now my left hand, the hand that's closest to the flowers, dives underneath my opposite thigh. I take that left shoulder, it goes to my left knee. And then I decide what I'd like to do with that right arm. Does it stay put? Does it reach? Does it come to the ceiling? Maybe it goes all the way over. A nice side opener for a lot that might be ailing you with mystery low back pain. This is a great opener, not only for that mystery low back pain, but also for the stress that we feel through the top ridge of our shoulders. When you're ready, we all rise up, we uncurl or come out of that. We'll take and slide our feet together. Everybody slide your feet together and turn sideways so you can see me. Just a little space. I'm going to hold on behind my thighs. I'm just going to slouch. We never get to slouch in yoga. We're going to press the back space of our heart to the back of the room to stretch and open up that back. Breathing fully here. Inhaling and exhaling. We'll rise back up. We're going to do one little glute massage here. It's one of my favorites, especially if you are stuck in a seat that's not very comfortable throughout the day. My hands come behind me, fingertips pointing to the sides to protect the wrists. I'm going to take and cross my right ankle over the top of my left leg. Now, some of us might have a straight leg and then slide that heel in. A few of us are going to have the heel fairly close into your bun cheek. So find that space where you start to feel a little stretch. And then I'm going to lean into my right bun. So I'm going to lean over to that right bun and just start to rock and roll. Going to massage that piriformis, that lovely muscle. That's a fussy muscle. Going to get a little bit into the big glutes of your bun cheek. Maybe a little stretch to the IT band, that iliotibial band in the outside of that thigh. We'll come back through center. We're gonna switch it out. So give it all little wiggles, those legs shake. This time the left ankle will cross over. We'll draw that heel into the appropriate place. And then we lean over to that left side, to the flower side of my room, where we start to rock and roll. Now, as counterintuitive as it seems, if there's a tender spot, you'd like to stay on it. We're gonna try to release it. So if you're really getting some information about, holy cow, see if you can stay on it for a moment to get it to release. And then we'll come back through center. We're gonna give our feet a little bit of wiggle. We're getting ready once again to transition to the floor. So if you need to move your screen, again, that great spot is kind of down by your knees, so you can look down your legs. We'll slowly begin to roll back. We're gonna move through our bridge pose, safe to do with neck concerns. If you are a person who does shoulder stand, plow, this is your time to go through shoulder stand and plow. Most of us are gonna hang out in bridge. So I'm gonna bring my hands down by my side, my heels fairly close to my buns, and I lift my belly up towards the ceiling. So the weight is between my shoulder blades. Now careful here, no matter where you're at, try to keep your gaze on the ceiling instead of looking at your screen as soon as your hips are lifted. That's important for your neck vertebrae. We're gonna slide hands underneath if possible to clasp. Maybe they stay down by your side. And we're in this inversion. So we spent this hour sort of moving through, releasing, opening up, getting the channels of energy to flow a little bit more freely. And the idea here at the end of class, when we do inversions, is to really let some of that energy wash up and down. So there's balance between the yang part of your body, the upper part of your body, and the yin part of your body, the lower part. One more breath here for everyone. For those of us in bridge, let's give ourselves a little bear hug and see if we can melt down. If you're in your plow or shoulder stand, coming out of that, and everybody draws knees into chest. We're back to this idea of rocking side to side. Take a moment to notice how it's feeling now as compared to the beginning of class. We have a couple of choices here. We can keep knees into the chest. We might go into our happy baby where soles, soles of the feet come up towards the ceiling. We grab hold where we can grab hold. Maybe it's thighs, maybe it's shins, maybe it's inside or outside of the feet, and knees draw down. So knees into chest or happy baby. Your baby might be really happy and rocking side to side. You might prefer to stay still, letting those knees draw towards the floor. This is a great psoas release, that lovely muscle that connects the upper and lower parts of our body. That fussy muscle that creates a lot of interesting things through the hip and low back area. If knees are into chest, you're stretching a little bit more of hamstring and low back area, also a fussy place that creates some of that mystery low back pain. Both are very beneficial. Just fully breathing here. When you're ready, we're going to release the feet to the floor. Stretching legs long, arms reach overhead, or return to this idea of how we began class. Arms overhead, or they can be in that nice little football goal 90-degree position, or resting down by your side if shoulder injury prevents you from reaching. See if you can get long from the top and the bottom of your mat. And then without striving now, let yourself relax. Arms still reaching overhead, legs still long. Returning to the breath. Remember, at the beginning of class, we were noticing expansion and release. Take a few moments here as you inhale to notice where the breath expands into and where it may be releasing. Maybe there's a sense of ease or release that comes with that breath. Inhaling and exhaling into expansion and release. When you're ready, let your arms slide out into a T. Bending knees, soles of the feet come on. We're going to go into a twist. So we might simply drop knees over to the right side. So it is the right side that we go towards. If you're looking at your screen, it's towards the weeds side of the room. We might do twisted roots where we take your left thigh and cross it over the top of the right and drop our knees over to the right. Wherever it makes sense for you to be here in a twist. We've been practicing this releasing breath, and really it's a breath you can do anytime. You don't have to be in a twist. It's where we're holding breath, we're letting pressure build and whooshing it out. So if you'd like to join me in that breath, we're going to do that breath 3 times. We'll take a deep inhale, breathe in as deeply as you can and hold the breath. Let a little pressure build. And then let it exhale, whoosh out the mouth. Inhaling while we're in that twist. Holding breath. Exhale, let it whoosh. One more time on this side, inhaling. Holding a little bit longer. And exhale. Returning to just a nice, easy breath while you're resting here in a twist. 3 or 4 more breaths. With your next inhale, we come back through center with those knees. Give them a nice little rock side to side. And then we'll let our knees go opposite direction. They drop over to the left side. If you're doing twisted roots, it's your right thigh that comes on top. We drop over to the left side. Arms are comfortable. If you'd like to join me in that releasing breath, we take a deep inhale, breathe in as deeply as you can and hold the breath. And then exhale, whoosh it out. Inhaling in, holding, exhale, release. One last time, deep inhale, breathing in. And exhale, release. 3 or 4 easy breaths here. The body breathing itself. Bringing knees back through center. Perhaps drawing knees in towards the chest, a little rock side to side. One last place to be here before we move through relaxation and a little bit of pranayama. I'm going to ask you to come into, it's actually a yen pose, which is called pentacle, and it's 5-pointed star. I call it the sprawling husband who is hogging the bed. He's downstairs, so he can't hear that. So what we're going to do is stretch legs long. If arms can go overhead, we reach arms overhead and think maybe about a letter V. They're just resting out in a letter V. Legs walk off the width of your mat, so you're really wide resting here. This is a nice reset of the spine, but it's one of my favorites because it helps us feel expansive, helps us feel powerful. We take up space. We are here and we belong here. Taking some deep inhales and exhales. Breathing as big as you can into all of this space you've created. If energy is your thing, think about sending energy out through feet, out through fingertips, out through the top of your head, that 5th point to your star. And remind yourself, you are expansive, you're powerful, and you belong here. Two more breaths. We're going to begin to move into final relaxation. If you haven't taken class from me before, final relaxation is a little different for me. You are welcome to find any space that feels like it brings the most ease into your body. Maybe it is Shavasana. Maybe you're resting on your back with your feet fairly wide, hands down by your side, about 8 inches away from your torso. But maybe you feel better resting on your side or knees bent or something behind the knees. Maybe you like to rest on your belly. If you've cooled down, you may want to grab a blanket on the couch or your sweatshirt or socks to provide yourself a little bit of warmth. We're going to relax a little bit differently today than we did last week. I'm going to move through a body scan. And this is a guided meditation that is meant to inspire a relaxation response in the body. And given that many of us are not feeling super relaxed these days, I'm actually not going to bring you back out of relaxation. I'm going to let you stay here. I will end our meeting quietly, and that will allow you, if you really have gathered some ease in the body, to preserve it for a little longer than maybe my schedule might allow for you, or your schedule might allow. This idea of a body scan is a nice way to finish a practice to really stimulate this relaxation response we're seeking. This idea of sending our body into rest, relax, and restore instead of fight or flight. And all that you have to do is just allow your notice to follow the sound of my voice, bring attention to the spaces that I name in the body. So take that deep inhale, that longer exhale, settling into letting the body breathe itself. Inviting ease into the body as it rests here with weight on the floor. Allowing your notice to travel with the sound of my voice as we move through the body. We begin by noticing the mouth, the lips, the teeth, the gums. Noticing the tongue and the back of the throat. The inside of the left cheek and the inside of the right cheek. Awareness of the roof of your mouth. Noticing the ears, the outer curved surface of the ears, the middle ear, and the inner ears. Awareness of your nose, the in and out breath traveling through the nose. Breathing in through the left nostril, breathing out through the left nostril. Breathing in through the right nostril, breathing out through the right nostril. Noticing the eyes, the eyelashes, the eyelids, the curved surface of the eyes, the center of the eyes, the backs of the eyes. Noticing the space between the brows, the forehead, the top of the head. Letting awareness travel to the back of the head, the back of the neck, to the throat. Awareness travels out the left collarbone to the left shoulder, the left upper arm, the elbow and forearm, the wrist, palm, thumb, and fingers. Letting awareness travel up the arm, across the collarbone, to the right collarbone and the right shoulder, the right upper arm, the elbow, the forearm, the wrist, palm, thumb, and each finger. Bringing awareness back up through the right arm, back through the collarbone, to the front of the torso, the space of the front of the heart, the bottom rib cage and belly, the front side of the pelvis. Awareness travels to the shoulder blades, the space of the back of the heart, the back bottom rib cage, the low back, the back of the pelvis. Bringing awareness to the left hip, the left thigh, the knee, shin, the left ankle, sole of the foot, the left big toe, and each toe. Bringing awareness back up through the left leg, the left hip, across the pelvis to the right hip, the right thigh, the knee, and the shin, the ankle, the sole of the foot, the right big toe, and each toe. Bringing awareness to both legs together, to both arms together, to the front and the back of the torso and the head. Bringing awareness back to the space of the front of the heart. From the front of the heart radiates a sense of well-being, a sense of well-being radiating through the entire body, the head, the arms, the front and back of the torso, and the legs. This sense of well-being and ease radiating through the entire body. Allowing yourself to rest in this sense of well-being, this sense of ease. Resting as long as you like in this sense of peace.